Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We're your host, Tyler Callahan, Mike Ferrante. Mike, it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it definitely has. Just some external factors that have pushed this podcast off for a little bit too long. But here we are, we're back.
And we are not only back, but we actually have quite a few good number of episodes lined up now for the next few weeks. We got stuff to talk about in our absence. WarnerMedia and AT&T have decided to say Hollywood can go fuck themselves in the nicest way possible. And by that, I mean not tell anyone until it happens.
That's true. That's the courtesy.
So, Mike, do you want me to go over the fine details of this, or do you got this?
I feel like you're ready to get on a roll, so I don't want to interrupt that.
All right. So, I was following this all last week because after the announcement, Hollywood had no problem talking to reporters last week for many different factors. So what happened was, all right, to break it down, there's AT&T, there's WarnerMedia, which owns HBO, and Warner Brothers, the studio, and that's the structure. And the structure is important for what happens. So WarnerMedia has decided Warner Brother films from 2021, technically starting with Wonder Woman, day and date with theaters in America. So, because we're coming out of the pandemic now, Matrix 4, Godzilla vs. Kong, Suicide Squad comes out in theaters that Friday. You can see it on their streaming service. No extra charge, unlike Disney. And at first, it's like, wow, it's a big move. They're really shaking things up. And then the complaints started rolling in. And the main issue from producers, actors, directors is in a lot of contracts, and Mike, we talked about this a few months ago with Trolls and how Universal had a small issue with this, is they are paid a bonus based on box office, how it does at the box office. If it's a success and brings people in, they don't see a cut of the box office money, but they get that extra check. This contract, the switch, screws people out of those checks. Because reasonably, okay, let's say August, Suicide Squad. Last one made 700 million. Let's say by August, everything's good. If the sequel now doesn't make 700 million and say makes 400 million, if they had a contract for 500 and above, they get a cut. Well, now they just lost that money through no fault of their own. To make matters worse, AT&T, WarnerMedia got Wonder Woman okay with this. So they got Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins okay with their movie because they negotiated $8 to $10 million bonuses off the bat. So they were paid off for the lost box office revenue. They're good. AT&T WarnerMedia decided they didn't want to do that for every single movie. So then the second biggest mistake is they decided not to tell them just at all. Just they wake up in Hollywood, they see the news, and that's it. So I think everyone can understand how pissed you would be if you worked on this movie and you just hear it's going to a streaming service.
Yeah, pretty rough.
So before I bring up the other details, which is potential lawsuits, what are your thoughts about it? Now, we've talked about how HBO Max needs like content, and we've also talked about how the main content right now is a better version of Justice League, which still isn't out.
Yeah, so it's definitely a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it works out for them because it's a lot of content. You definitely are getting actors, producers, directors more sour towards Warner Brothers, especially with the basically just outcoming news right off of the Justice League investigation, which apparently has concluded.
Yes, they found the perfect time to just say it was concluded. We took all necessary precautions right as they were taking heat for this. So whoever decided to release it, great PR, because no one fucking cares now.
Yep.
But you're right. A lot of the actors, directors are upset. Christopher Nolan twice now has just kind of crapped on HBO Max, and that's Warner Brothers' golden boy right there. So he's clearly pissed, and
It doesn't even affect him though.
it doesn't affect him, but actually kind of does. Part of the reason he's pissed is they also talked to him. It came out that they talked to him, Warner Brothers, about the Wonder Woman situation. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I understand there's a pandemic and all that, blah, blah, blah. He was told this was a one-time thing. He's a big theater guy, and they asked for his opinion on it. He said it's okay. Warner Brothers, as far as they knew, was a one-time thing. And then Warner Media steps in and is like, yeah, no, it's all the other 2020 movies as well. So while he's not involved in this because this movie came out, the issue with him is someone straight up lied to him at the studio.
Yeah.
But besides him, Dennis Villeneuve who for Dune is upset. James Gunn is upset. Denzel Washington is upset. And those are the people that reports came out, their agents were just screaming at the phones at the studio all weekend.
Oh, I bet.
So yeah, Warner Brothers may face a lawsuit from Legendary over this as well, for two movies, Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune. The reason for that is Warner Brothers doesn't own the movies. They own the distribution rights. And to make matters worse, because they only own the distribution right, Legendary and any smaller studios that work with them, put up 75% of budget for both movies. So Warner Brothers' only cut is 25% plus distribution. To make matters worse, for Godzilla vs. Kong, you may have seen this in the news, Netflix wanted to buy it, and they dropped $250 million to do so. And Legendary was going to accept the offer. Warner Brothers said no and vetoed it. And they can veto it because they're the distributor, which means if the movie leaves, they need to be made whole on the deal. They felt they weren't. Legendary executives were fine with it. They were hoping, since they heard about the possible move, that Warner Brothers would cut them a fair deal, maybe 200, 220, work it out. They heard nothing until that morning when they just saw it was going to HBO Max with no extra cost to them. So possible lawsuit there. We haven't heard anything past that, so I would assume they're just going to throw a bunch of money at that so that doesn't go to court, because I feel Warner Brothers would lose that.
It's very possible.
And to you saying it's a bold move, it's a very bold move. I guess we'll see with Wonder Woman how many numbers they get. For point of reference, in the past 2 months, they went from 8 to 12 million subscribers, and they released that number last week to help cool down, at least investors. So we now know pre-Wonder Woman, they're at 12 million. We'll see what they look like in January after Wonder Woman. I'm kind of mixed on the move. I understand the move. But
because it's a financial tough time. They still need to make money to make their business profitable. But at the same time, they're sacrificing a lot just to make it.
And they're sacrificing a lot of box office revenue. Now I know AT&T doesn't care about that. They want HBO Max. And WarnerMedia is the same. But for Warner Brothers, look, they didn't have a good 2019. Their 2019 was looking shitty until Joker decided to come in and save the day. They had flops and disappointments left and right that year. 2020, pandemic, obviously. But let's be honest, before the pandemic hit, Birds of Prey wasn't doing that hot.
No.
They did not have a good start to 2020 either. And if we're being honest, looking at the line for 2021,
it was a strong year.
I was going to say it's not that strong.
The Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Batman got pushed back.
Again?
Yeah, it's 2022 now.
Oh.
March 2022. But looking at the line now, it's like Godzilla vs. Kong. And I'm just looking at this as a guy who follows box office numbers. Godzilla vs. Kong, no one cared for the second Godzilla. I don't know if that's going to make money. Tom and Jerry, that's not going to make much money. Matrix 4, that has to be good for people to care. But it's still a lot of potential money off the table. I think if they wanted to be smart, they should have done first 6 months, January to June, day and date. Say May, they'll reassess the situation, and then take it from there. You get less heat. It's a more reasonable take because literally a week before 2 weeks after they make all these moves, you have now 2 vaccines being approved and starting distribution. Who knows what the world will look like in June?
That's true.
And I think this is a bit of the other studios sensing blood in the water in Hollywood. Universal, Paramount, Disney, and Sony, they all see a bunch of unhappy actors and directors. If they are upfront and are clear with what they want to do with their movie, then they'll just take all of them. I would not be surprised if 5 years from now, Nolan is working for another studio.
I could see it.
Because for as much as Universal did this year, they still respect the theatrical window, even if it's like 3 weeks in worst case. But they're straight up with Nolan on it. Hey, we'll keep you guaranteed 2 months. You get a special deal. We'll give you $150 million. Make what you want. We like your movies. Why would he stay with Warner Brothers when he knows at any moment it can go on HBO Max? I don't know. I think Warner Brothers, the studio, will be fine, but I feel some of the top talent may not stay. It's like, and so far from what I've seen from the head of WarnerMedia, at least publicly, he's putting on a brave face, doesn't give two fucks. Like this is the way the market's moving, and I don't blame him. The market is moving this way, but Hollywood's a very relationship-heavy industry.
It is.
You help each other, because let's be honest, like there's a lot of favors given out in Hollywood. You have shitty directors that have bomb after bomb, but because they like the guy or whatever, or they just keep giving them chances. And I'm not doing this as a knock against Zack Snyder. But when the general public did not like his movies, they weren't a big fan of Man of Steel. Warner Brothers, they still had him on for Batman v Superman, and they at least started to have him for Justice League.
Yeah.
Nolan, obviously. So, Michael Bay, clearly. I mean, how many fucking bad Transformers do you need to be kicked off the franchise?
2, I think.
2, how about 5? But yeah, all right. So, Mike, as someone who doesn't have HBO Max, now I don't think this is a fair question because I think you're going to sign up anyway for Justice League. But if Justice League wasn't happening, would you sign up for this?
Probably, yes.
Because clearly with the pandemic, at least in our area, won't be till March, April at the earliest anyway. Theaters open up, so you got time. And yeah, I mean, I'm already signed up. I'll stay signed up for now, but I was going to do that anyway. This hasn't persuaded me per se, but I don't know.
No, I'd say it's a good time to sign up.
Yeah, they are running deals too, and oh my god,
all these movies.
Also, if anyone wants a tip to sign up for HBO, Best Buy has a deal with Warner Brothers where if you buy any Warner Brothers product, you get 2 weeks free. So just buy a Warner Brothers movie for $10, you'll get 2 free weeks. I bought Cyberpunk and it came with a code.
Really?
Because Warner Brothers distributes it in America, so they throw in codes for that. So, but yeah, just to finish this up, strategically, this is a smart move. HBO was liking content, they fixed that. They need to increase it in more countries. HBO Max is still only in America. They need to work on that if they actually care about the service. Because, yeah, Disney Plus is kicking their ass with subscription numbers, but it's also in 10 different countries.
That definitely helps out a lot.
Yeah. And the same thing with Netflix. Netflix has 200-300 million subscribers. Yeah, because they're in 80 countries. So in America, 12 million subscribers in less than a year on one country is not bad. But they need to work on it. They can't sacrifice all this for just an American market.
Yeah, because you're taking away box office numbers from the entire world, essentially.
Yeah, because now you have a privacy issue. So if you're in other parts of the world, nothing changes. This news means nothing for you. Your option's theatrical release. But from day one, someone can rip a crisp 4K copy and put it online. If enough people know how to do that, why would they risk going to theaters?
Needs me.
Yeah, I mean, I know it won't be most people, but if it gets easier to find them, why would you spend the money? But
yeah,
obviously we'll be following this development because I was not expecting the amount of news and fallout from this move, but Hollywood ain't happy. So people want to start talking again, we'll talk about it. But let's talk about another studio that is making streaming moves. And by streaming moves, I say just drop truckloads of content at your foot.
Oh, yeah.
Disney had their investor meeting, which at this point, it being 4 hours long, felt more like a tech conference than anything, where they decided to announce their lineup for the next 3 or 4 years. And if you were a fan of anything Disney, you had a full plate that day. Do you want to start with Star Wars? Feels fair?
Yeah, we can definitely start with the easy one.
All right. So, since there's so much, we're just going back and forth on what stood out to us because we could be here forever. What stood out for you the most from Star Wars?
Well, obviously, keeping up with Mandalorian, the Ahsoka show is going to be pretty rock solid. I think as long as they have a good writer and a lot of good directors like the Mandalorian had, I think the show will be a lot of fun and a good success and just build off the entire story.
I think we should also mention Mandalorian was obviously renewed for season 3.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming next Christmas.
I mean, that's a given.
Yeah.
They released some stuff that wasn't really news at all. The Kenobi show again. We kind of knew that was happening at this point. Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader, though, is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it does seem that Obi-Wan's leaving the planet, which how they write it, going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of dangerous because now you're on murky waters.
Mm-hmm. I will keep my mind open for how they write that. Yeah, I'm not going to be against it completely. I'll give them a chance. I gave the sequel trilogy a chance.
Yeah.
We can give this a chance, all right?
I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be pretty good. I'm curious to see if Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are going to have a big part in it as well.
That's true. They do seem to know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be like one of those Star Wars power couples. because we know Dave Filoni is true to the source material. He gives us great content for the Star Wars universe.
I mean, he's the reason we have Ahsoka.
He is, yeah. He's also the reason why Darth Maul became an actual badass character and not just a silent guy with a double-bladed lightsaber.
It is funny with that Clone Wars show. He basically fixed a lot of issues with like
Yeah,
prequel Star Wars.
completely fixed. And now he's given us Jango or Boba Fett live action being a badass.
What do you think about the next Star Wars movie, Rogue Squadron? Actually, also being directed by Patty Jenkins.
No.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like, I think she's a good director. It's just I don't care for
Yeah.
that topic. Just, like, okay, like, all right, fine. Top Gun in space. Okay.
Like, yeah, it could be interesting, but then, I don't know.
I look. They haven't even said what era it's going to be in, so I don't know. But oh my god, if it's another original trilogy movie, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Yeah, I think they need to cut ties with the movies for a while. If they're rocking out shows, stick with that.
Well, I think there's a reason they're waiting 3 years for this movie to come out.
Yeah.
I did notice Ryan Johnson's trilogy was nowhere to be mentioned.
Oh, really?
I think that quietly got axed because they talked about 2023 we got this, 2025 we got Watiti's Star Wars movie, and that's it. It's like, all right. I think for me, one thing that stood out that I was interested in is the spin-off of the Clone Wars show, the Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. Yeah.
That looks pretty interesting. I'm glad it's keeping that Clone Wars animation compared to say Rebels. Clone Wars one is a lot better. And yeah, besides that, look, I'm hoping the Ahsoka show is good. I'm also curious what time period that's going to be set in. I think it's going to be around Mandalorian time frame, right? So after.
Honestly, I believe so.
Because they said it was like a spin-off of Mandalorian, so it would be weird if it's like, yeah, it's spin-off, but it's like set 20 years before.
Yeah, no, I think it takes place right after we last see the show.
All right. So I think overall, though, Star Wars had a great presentation. They took a big hit after The Rise of Skywalker last year, where really seemed like they didn't know what to do. They regrouped. They took the success of Mandalorian, built off of it, and I think they have a great roadmap for the next few years. Speaking of another roadmap, Marvel. Marvel's roadmap is fucking Interstate Highway at this point.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four movie was confirmed. Got a director. The guy's making the Spider-Man movies. I think it's fine. No casting announcements yet.
I feel like we just gotta leave Fantastic Four alone for a little while.
I mean, they are. I mean, they only got a director. It's easily 3-4 years out. But, I mean, that was like some of the biggest news. A lot of Marvel's movies updates were just confirmations of the leaks. So Christian Bale is in Thor 4. He's playing a villain. Cool. The Kang the Conqueror is the main villain for Ant-Man 3. Okay, we kind of knew that.
Yep.
I think their more interesting stuff was on the TV side. They are setting up the new Iron Man with Ironheart. Yep. I don't know anything about her. It's just she's a teenage female that builds a suit, and from what I heard is like Tony Stark inspired. I don't think she's related to him at all. So they're setting that up. You have She-Hulk. Secret Invasion being a Nick Fury TV show and not a movie is interesting. Curious where that goes. Because all I know about the Secret Invasion comic line is like it turns out, oh no, like these heroes that you trusted and all that are actually aliens. So I feel if they do any big revelation, it should be a movie.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure about that.
Yeah. Oh, they're also bringing back Talos from Captain Marvel for that show as well. So he's still getting work. Was there anything about the shows that stood out for you? The Loki trailer was good.
See, the Loki trailer kind of left me not knowing what the hell the show is about.
But isn't that good?
I guess.
I mean, it made you wanted to watch it, right?
Yes and no. I mean, it's going to be one of those shows where you're either going to love it or hate it. There's going to be no in between. It just feels like it's going to be all over the place.
Well, I think out of the 3 shows coming out next year, I think that's the most. That one and WandaVision are the most interesting ones.
When's Falcon and Winter Soldier coming?
That's coming out in March or April.
Well, I feel like that could be good.
And then Loki's in May. Oh no, I have nothing against that show. It just looks very basic.
Yeah.
Like I feel WandaVision with what they've shown so far, it's going to a really like messed up situation with Wanda and like PTSD from Endgame. Loki, you have going different timelines, very unique. Falcon and Winter Soldier's like, okay, Winter Soldier's helping Falcon become Captain America. Okay, which is not a bad thing. If they can give us some Winter Soldier level action, then I'm fine with it. But it's not breaking new ground for Marvel like the other two shows,
Yeah, that's true.
which is fine. You need something to get people in. If you're gonna freak people out in January with WandaVision and how she basically kidnapped an entire town or made up an entire town,
Yep.
you need some normal Marvel stuff. Uh, yeah, movie wise, they were kind of quiet. They did say they were not going to recast Chadwick Boseman, so they're just going to write out Black Panther, which I
Yep.
think is the best move.
It's definitely the most appropriate move.
Well, you can't CGI him for the entire movie; it'd be too expensive and insulting to the family. And I think a recast at this point, I feel they'll recast in like 10 years, but
Yeah,
recasting for a sequel, it's too soon.
that's pretty disrespectful.
Honestly, focus on the sister, have the guy from the other tribe help her. Boom, you have a movie. Like, honestly, open up with the funeral so everyone has a chance to accept it, move on. Yeah, I think it's just easier that way.
Yeah, but even, writing about in death, that's kind of a little too soon too.
Well, you'd have to write him out of a funeral in the movie because, yes, everyone in real life knows why he's not in the movie. But you have to think 10, 20 years down the road, kid growing up watching these movies, they're going to be like, what the fuck? Where's Black Panther? So if
Yeah,
you're thinking that far ahead, you got to have the funeral. So storyline wise, okay, the character died right after the battle in Endgame, and then they, they had to try and move on. It's gonna be hard to watch, but it has to be done. Did anything else from Marvel stand out for you? I felt they were kind of quiet on the movies.
yeah, it seemed to be this was more of a Star Wars and animation type of deal.
Well, also, yeah, Star Wars and like Disney stuff. Like we're getting a Buzz Lightyear movie.
Yeah, voiced by Captain America.
Yeah, I've had to explain that movie to a few people because I feel they're kind of confused by it. But you get it, right? It's the movie in this Toy Story universe.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like a prequel to Buzz Lightyear.
Did you ever watch that Buzz Lightyear like a Disney Channel movie that was on after like Toy Story 1 or 2 as a kid?
Yeah, and there was a short show about it too.
Yeah, but that was some good stuff. I remember watching that as a kid. I loved it. So
Yeah, look,
if it's something like that, I'm down.
you're getting a Cars.
Yeah, yeah. Again, Baymax TV show, Moana TV show, Zootopia. I'm only mentioning Zootopia because the title is lazy, called Zootopia Plus. There's no way that can be the final title of the show.
I hope not. But Zootopia could be interesting.
I think so. For Cars, it's going to be a road trip. Moana's a musical. Imagine they did Zootopia like a gritty crime drama.
That would be well. They low key kind of did that with the movie.
They kind of did, but like, let's go a little darker for the kids.
Yeah,
Yeah, they talked about drugs, but what if we had animals that are overdosed?
like carrots.
Oh yeah, that's like the rabbit's like weakness.
Just injecting carrots into their feet.
Like the Fox partner is like, no, don't, you can't, he quits. God, we cannot be program directors for Disney.
That just got dark real fast.
All right, let's actually finish up on what they're doing for streaming. So unlike Warner Brothers, Disney's smart and they have a clear plan. They're not moving all their movies next year to Disney Plus. The only one doing it right now is Raya and the Last Dragon, and even then, it's premiere access. So like Mulan, day and date, but you gotta pay $30. There was big rumor Black Widow would join it. It did not. So clearly, they're doing a movie by movie, which is smart because by March, if you have millions of people vaccinated and things start to open up, then by May you should be good. So why would you do it? So I think theaters were very happy with that news because theaters probably theater owners had a heart attack with the HBO move.
Yeah.
If there's one studio that can do whatever the fuck they want and get no talk back to, it's Disney. So the fact that Disney's smart and recognizes the theater's role in this is smart. There was some moves though. Live action Pinocchio with Tom Hanks and live action Peter Pan movie moving to Disney Plus and won't be in theaters anymore, which is interesting. I assume they paid off Tom Hanks pretty well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like I'm sure he wasn't too happy, but if they explained it and gave him a couple million, he's a professional. I'm sure he'd be fine with that. Like it's not the biggest deal. Like, are you going to risk a career over Pinocchio?
Yeah, definitely not. And I feel like he's just acting for fun now. He doesn't even care what roles he's got.
Yeah. At this point, he can do any movie he wants. So I thought Disney showing was a lot stronger, but to be fair, they did plan this day for a while. Again, I feel like HBO's move was a desperation move, clearly. But I don't know. I definitely feel next year, even as things go back to normal, Hollywood's not. Let's put it that way. Do you have any closing thoughts on this? What do you think of Disney Plus? Do you think it's becoming a better service now with the content they're pumping out?
I mean, I feel like Disney Plus was always a pretty solid service.
Well, unless you wanted
Um,
to catch old movies, it was basically the Mandalorian show service.
oh yeah, if you're looking for new content, yeah, this definitely puts a little twinkle in your eye because that's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, no, I always thought Disney was great, and they price it reasonable. But again, once you're done with Mandalorian, unless you want to watch Marvel and old, old princess movies, what is there to watch? So,
Not too
I'm,
much.
yeah, I'm glad they fixed the issue, and they're pumping billions of dollars into this. But anyone else has thoughts about the streaming services, either one or both, where can they let us know?
Well, as always, you can find us on our Instagram and Facebook, and you can also check us out on YouTube, all under Entertainment Expansion. Drop a like, post a comment under our latest video, or post and tell us what you think about this completely crazy news that we just got unloaded on.
All right, that'll be it for this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. Thank you for listening.